Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 473, and today we're doing battle with Akshan Gnar Nidalee. And so if you caught our previous video doing battle in the Ruthless Rumble with the Bandle City Nidalee deck, I did make mention that in the next video, that's this one, I wanted to play Nidalee and the Frey Lord Warden of the Tribes deck. We've started to see a little bit of it pop up and around town. I'm not too impressed with the other people are playing, but I did want to give it a shot myself. Another deck I've been playing a fair amount of here over the past couple of days is Akshan Gnar, and it's another deck I'm not particularly impressed with. I like some of the highlights in it, but I think the kind of mishmash of these two decks together can actually come out and give us something very special. And so we're all very familiar with these Warden of the Tribe style decks. We have a lot of big overwhelms. So in here we have the Frostcoat Cub, the Mighty Poro, the Glacial Saurian, the Warden of the Tribes, Gnar, Nidalee to a lesser degree, and then the one we don't get to see too commonly is the Zolani out of the Darken Bloodletters. And then once we get these big overwhelms on board, we're going to give them all a bonus with Warden of the Tribes, crash through the opponent's defenses, and win the game. But the kind of journey to getting to that point is always so crazily different between all of these Warden of the Tribes decks. They all feel like something different. And so the differing piece, the differing portion that we're going to be getting out of this Shuriman style here is the early game. And so we are playing Akshan, one of the arguably strongest early game champions in the day, but also getting access to the new card out of Defenders of the Sun Disk. This is a card that works extremely well with Warden of the Tribes in the sense that it's a card advantage style card, so we play the Defenders of the Sun Disk and draw another copy of it, and it also carries the Elite tag. And so just through the general kind of gameplay with this guy, it's very easy to say on turn 6 we play a Defenders of the Sun Disk, and then on turn 7 we play a Defenders of the Sun Disk, we play a third Defenders of the Sun Disk, and then on turn 8 we have those 3 Defenders on board ready to catch the bonuses from the Warden of the Tribes. And so it has a very nice collection of synergies between the Warden, but that's not really enough to want to include a card in a deck. And so where this deck really starts to differentiate itself and really start to pop off is the usage of these extremely good Shuriman equipment. And so this deck has access to the Darken Bloodletters, which gives a lot of combos within the deck. If the Darken Bloodletters is equipped on a unit and the unit dies, we get the Darken Thrall, which is a cultist tag, so that's going to help tie into our Warden of the Tribes. And then the Zolani that we already mentioned carries the Darken tag while also being a gigantic overwhelm unit. And the Darken Bloodletters is strong enough to make both Akshan and Defenders of the Sun Disk real units in the early game, and so it's quite strong there. The other equipment we're playing, though, is the real swing for the fences style of equipment, if you will, and the Swinging Glaive. This is just an extremely powerful card with Akshan, but it also turns all of our cheaper plays within this deck, the Defenders of the Sun Disk, the Omen Hawk, the Forsaken Bakais, and the Actions, into real combat monsters. And if you actually pull off an attack with this thing and your unit survives, that unit tends to just snowball and take over the game. And so I really like the early game collection that this deck brings together between all of these cheap plays and their strength with the equipment style. The next thing to call out with this deck is the General of the Dunes, another elite style unit that ties in with the Defenders of the Sun Disk. This is a interactivity package for our deck, and the thing that's really kind of interesting to me with the General is it does give us that interactivity that this deck lacks, right? We don't have challengers in this deck. We're really limited in how we can directly affect our opponent. But it does deliver these vulnerables to the opposing units, which gives you a little bit of board control. But to me, the big thing the General of the Dunes does is it lets us kind of pick and choose our overwhelmed combats. And so one of the things we really kind of drive home about playing the Demacian version of the Warden of the Tribes deck is you get access to things like Cataclysm, and that lets you Cataclysm your Warden of the Tribes into one of your opponent's smaller units. We get a lot of those similar plays with the General of the Dunes, to where we say, play the General on turn 4, and then on turn 5 we play Defenders of the Sun Disk. Now the opponent has their smallest units with vulnerable attached to them, and they're just easy pickings for our big overwhelmed units. And so depending on how the game sequences out, we can use this as for either just kind of a value play to where we're just ensuring that the opponent's weaker units die to our bigger units, or in the late game it gives us a nice additional path to victory and delivering vulnerable to the opponent's weaker units, and then hitting them with overwhelms for big damage. And so that's it. That's the deck we're doing battle with today. But before the battles begin, you know what we got to do? We got to go and turn something premium. And we did hit the Defenders of the Sun Disk in the previous video, 2 videos ago when we played Leona. But the thing that keeps blowing my mind is the Sky Splitter just has not been turned premium yet. And so that's the one we're going to grab today. That's the one getting that premium treatment. I can assure you it's going to do something special today. Now let's send everybody into battle. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. Like, I'm not like 100% sold on all of the numbers in this deck. Like the Gnars and the Nidalees, I think can kind of be flipped around. The thing that really interests me with Nidalee in this deck is we made a big mention of adding these 2 drops to the board and then putting a swinging glaive on it. Nidalee with ambush lets you come out and do that, right? So you can get your Nidalee down on turn 2 in ambush form, drop the glaive on her, and then you still have a pretty reasonably meaty unit there, and then you have the option to just ambush her later on in the game. And so it gives you, you know, a little bit more early game possibilities that you don't quite get out of Gnar, but Gnar is much easier to flip and get that overwhelm form going. And so, you know, I'm not sold on which version I like, you know, more at this point, but there's some definite arguments for both options there. All right, into battle, up against Kawako with Freylord Shen. Not entirely certain what we're about to get ourselves into here, but I'm sure it's got to be something special. So let's take a peek at what's going on. Reasonable enough start though. We did pick up a lot of swinging glaives. It can be a little bit awkward in that sense, but we'll make the most of it. Now with this, I'm not amped about any of these. Like, we already have the start that we want. We have a 2-drop into a swinging glaive. We could look to pick up Nidalee, but I don't think that that's the way this hand is progressing. I think we want to put this Glacial Saurion on top. And then now the way that this can progress is like we can add Defenders of the Sun Disk next turn. We can glaive it up. A turn after that, we can do another Daybreak. And then when we get around to turn 5, we'll just kind of be ready for the Saurion. And so we'll see how this goes. I don't know what Kawako's bringing here with this Shen deck. We maybe should have open attacked with our Bakai. I don't like immediately think of any 2/3s or you know, 3 health units coming down for 2 mana at this point that'll completely blank us. So I didn't feel like it was too aggressive in adding the Defenders of the Sun Disk. And now the Frostcoat Cub comes down to say, LOL, you dum-dum. You should have got that 2 points of damage in. It's okay, though. One of the perks to playing an unknown deck, if you will. The opponent getting the advantage there. So this is just a Warden of the Tribes deck coming from Ionia. I'm certain that that's what has to be happening here. But I'm kind of interested if he's playing Capsize. Capsize is one of these cards I've become very interested in over the course of the past few days with just how the meta is shaped up. Like, being able to capsize some of these units down is huge. It's pretty monumental. And so I'm like very interested in that sense. But I haven't quite come together with it. So I'm curious if that's what we're seeing here. If this is just a Warden of the Tribes deck, Shen's a champion in it, and then, you know, Capsize is so good against these curve style decks that just gotta wonder if that's what we're about to see. But as far as this combat goes, I felt reasonably enough about getting the Forsaken Bakai on board with the stats. We're getting pretty shut down in terms of not being able to interact with these combats, though. I don't think we want to be quicksanding here. So I think we just have to give up the turn again. Like, hopefully we can find a quicksand that, you know, he's going to be counting on some of these barriers to really pop off. But not finding the space to really get in here. The Fae Guide. I love it. I love it, my dudes. the Yordle coming through with the elusive. It's another one I saw. Like, I was walking through. There's a couple things with Capsize, right? There was the option to do stuff like this, to where you just have it in a deck and you want to play it as a nice tempo spell. But then there's also that, like, Bilgewater dude that lets you, like, manifest elemental spells and play multiple copies of it. Like, I've been very interested in all of it. Like, the entire package I want to see. And so, it hasn't, I haven't, you know, I haven't brewed enough to get to that point, but I must continue to say I'm very interested. But with this, we can still build up nicely into this Warden of the Tribes. I think we want to pick up the Defenders of the Sun Disk here. We don't get any more. We have the full amount of copies in hand, but I'm looking to get the Defenders of the Sun Disk on board. Then we're going to load up two Darkened Bloodletters and a Swinging Glaive this turn. And then turn 7, we can play Saurion on a unit. Turn 8, we can bring in the Warden of the Tribes. I'm going to leave the Saurion at home. I don't really want him coming in and making trades with these units. Man, is getting blanked by the Shadow Fiend. I don't approve. I don't approve of what you've done here. Alright, well I guess we just gotta keep passing. So I think I'm not super happy with how we sequenced this. Like I gotta see how big his Warden is, right? He's got Cultist, Yordle, Dog at 3. Like, I feel like we need to get Darkened down so that our Warden of the Tribes just makes bigger units than our opponents. So it's like I want to add the Darkened Bloodletters. Just kill off this unit. We wasted the Swinging Glaive, I guess. That was not well sequenced, but I think we got to pick up this keyword for the Warden. Yeah, would have been nicer to just have a different unit on board. I guess the Defenders of the Sun Disk could have come down. I was thinking that, like, on this turn we were going to play a Defenders of the Sun Disk and a Saurion. The next turn we were going to boost everybody with the Warden, but I think we just need that stat point real bad. He's building up keywords as well. I guess the other big thing to worry about here is going to be the possibility of a Buried in Ice. I mean, who knows? Who knows if he's playing it or not? But I'm a little concerned about it. We're really getting punished by missing out on that Swinging Glaive turn. But we presented all our big boys. We say, here is the team, here is the squad.
I am ascended.
Let's see how much we can clear out.
I'm not afraid.
He doesn't necessarily have to play a Warden here, right? He can most assuredly not die this turn, and then look to play Warden next turn, maybe boost up his Shen. But we certainly have to take this style here, play our Warden and get in. It's the way he's gonna zing us, right? He's gonna get this this gigantic Shen. He's gonna hit us with the elusives, and the elusive package coming through. All right, combat complete. And so here at the end, we are going to pick up this this lucky find from the Swinging Glaive. Going to put it on the Zolani. My only concern at this point in this game is like Shen getting super big and hitting us with an elusive. We don't have Quicksand. We don't have any flash freezes in our deck. And so the only answer we have to a very big elusive Shen is going to be a Desert Duel. So I want to kind of take that angle here if we can. None of these keywords are too compelling. If we get to attack again, he's just going to be dead anyways. So we'll go with tough. All right, what are we in for? Ooh, no Warden. That's nice. Wonder what kind of scary nonsense will come out of this Anaka. You get Anaka into Anaka into Anaka. Is that what we're gonna get today? Sorry, not that bad. And so you don't have to really risk too much here. I think we can throw our overwhelms in. Like if he's got a combat trick to kill one of them, fine. But this doesn't really strike me as a combat to where he's gonna have a bunch of tricks. Like I feel like he would probably just attack with everybody if he's gonna be sporting stuff like syncopates, or if he's gonna have a way to give a couple of units bonus attack. Like I think we're ultimately pretty safe here to block with our overwhelms. I guess there would have been a bit of arguments to block with our unit that has the, what do you call it, the swinging glaive on it, but I don't think that ultimately feels necessary. Now I'm looking to just play Sarion. We'll play Akshan after the fact. I don't care about the equipment taking up space on board, and then we'll see if we can't win off an open attack next turn.
I don't need rules to know good from bad.
It's like we know we have the open. It's just the thing that starts to be concerning is if he's going to have a frostbite, and so I think we want to try and just make him spend some mana here. And so I'm looking to just desert duel something down, probably the Shen, because he's one of the only ones that we can kill. Right? We don't have to have a really strong combat from a lot of our units. We just need a unit to actually connect for damage. So I'm leaning towards, like, let's kill this Shen. We can spend our Zolani, that's okay. And then just try and get him to spend a bunch of mana, right? It just doesn't feel particularly safe making an open attack and then him being like, cool, I got a flash freeze and block everything. No, I think we're just going to end up being short that way. So the other options we have in that sense is we did pick up a grappling hook, so we can look to shoot a unit down that way as well. I don't think we want to be leading off with that. The other kind of option we have is, say, adding Gnar and then grappling hooking off of Gnar. I think that's safe. Oh, the blacksmith's rolling through, but now he's down to 4 mana. So you can still execute on a flash freeze coming out of a Three Sisters. We are looking to be a damage short now. This pokey stick doesn't get to pop off. I think we need to lucky find onto Akshan. See if we can't find a +1/+1. That's not good. That's not good.
This is justice.
Right, here comes the squad. We're gonna be short. Right, we only have a couple of overwhelms. He has very easy blocks on our overwhelms. And then we don't have the damage to punch through at the end of the day. Our Pokey Stick's going to go down to 0. And then go down to 0 cost, and then we don't have any damage sources to hand. Alright, GG. I think that comes down to that, like, you could see how tight the mana was in that game, and I think it really came down to that turn to where we messed up with the glaive. Having that 3 mana would have been pretty crucial along the way there. We were very limited in what we could do at the end game. And so, good game, well played. Not a bad start with this deck, but that sloppy play in the middle really cost us. It's crazy. Like I'm not certain. Like it feels so bad to be in these spots to where you play a swinging glaive and then you have to attack and trade. But I'm curious if we shouldn't have just been going for it anyways. In terms of, you know, that it doesn't feel good, but maybe that just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. All right, into the next one, though. We'll hang on to the bird. Take a look for some of our more early plays. Find some of our equipment. Up against... which one is this? Nilah Janna. All right, and we can run out Nidalee if we want. I'm not amped about it at this stage of the game. He's going to come down and die to Mystic Shot. Now that we picked up Quicksand, we have a little bit more incentive to bank up some mana. And then, you know, if it rolls around to turn 4 and we just play Nidalee face up, there's nothing wrong with that, right? She's a little bit more challenging for this deck to take down anyways once she's on board with 3 health. Right, then we'll take the combat reel out of this. Definitely a big fan of going up to 3 health, now surviving things like Mystic Shots.
Wait, you? Oh, I love that for you.
Right, General of the Dunes turns up. Look how meaty this guy is. He's a 5/5, passing out vulnerables and stuff, and then we'll pick up an extra mana in combat with this Quicksand. And so, let's get into battle, you know? Nothing wrong with getting into battle.
Nah, not a chance.
No Mystic Shots, okay.
Storm unrelenting.
Would like to take down this Janna this turn. You know, we didn't have a ton of option in the previous turns. Now we do have the Desert Duel available to try and take her off of board. Interesting. Wasn't expecting Tidal Invocations to roll through.
Wind need not be seen to move our world.
All right, let's just pass a little bit. Like it's
Together.
it is scary. Like he is at a point to where he could have potentially taken down our Glacial Saurion with 2 burn spells, so I didn't really want to pull the trigger on trying to Desert Duel Janna. But now that he's down to 3 mana, we know that the Saurion is safe. Okay.
Dusting off the fisticuffs.
And we'll go ahead and block. I still don't like taking a bunch of damage against this deck. He's going to draw 1,000 cards next turn, and it's a little painful. You can't just sit around forever and try and build up board for these Wardens. Very interesting. It's like the swinging glaive ultimately just feels so dangerous. Leaning towards, let's just start with this blacksmith. Gain a little bit of health while we're at it. Happy enough with the Pot of Pain. Then we can assess a little further. Sure.
Isn't this getting old? Thought there was more.
Everybody's getting the whirlwinds. Not that bad. He hasn't played any draw twos yet this turn. Oh, Mirai Warden. Where does that come from? We better get a unit on board. It's a little much. That's a little much coming at us, and we don't have big plays lined up for this next turn. Ender of the Sun Disk was a choice draw. Like, I'm pretty confident I'm fine to just throw away units in front of Mirai Warden here. It's only 1 point of damage. Would we rather just... What do we fall to, 7? I think we're kind of stuck. But we can Defender into Equipment. And then next turn play our Warden. Nice refill here. Just like landed perfect here. Another 3. That's kind of on us. We could have played the Pot of Pain in this spot so that Nidalee would have survived if we flipped her. But didn't do it. Now it's kind of regrettable. I think we still want to bank the mana here. Might find a spot for this quicksand even if the Warden of the Tribes comes down. But that's so painful. We'd be in such a stronger spot here if we had that Nidalee. It's just, I let the greed get the best of me. It's like I'm looking at this board and I'm like, okay, well, we can, we can build up some mana off of this thing. That was not the way to go about it. Get into this spot like this now, right? Where we get to Omen Hawk Warden of the Tribes, but then we don't have the quicksand mana. We would have if we had that Nidalee attack with the combat reel. I don't think we can get too much more invested here. It's like the Warden of the Tribes isn't coming down this turn. We're going to have to just start desert dueling and quicksanding stuff. Poor Nidalee, though. Just Nilah? Is he really just on the Slipstream or Dead plan? I mean, he doesn't have that much burn left, right? He's already played. Can we even see? Can't see what your opponent's played anymore. Did he play 3 of the? Oh Jesus, we're just going right to the nugget, huh? Alright, let's go ahead and take down the Nilah. Like, I think we're safe in the face of burn spells here, right? He shouldn't have any way to deal 3 damage. Like, it's very believable to have 2. At this point, though, I think he's played 3 tornadoes and 1 mystic shot, so it's a little bit harder for him to actually pull off. That is this. Nilah's 1 short of flipping, and we can quicksand down the Mirai Warden. So I think we're okay. I think it's okay to leave the Tide Dancer on board. Is that a problem? It has more health. I guess we'll get more damage in with our Overwhelm next turn. What's this like? We got 6 on the Saurion, -5. Yeah, that's the one we should be taking down. Just leave the Tide Dancer with 1 health. None of these particularly matter. I was hoping to hit Spell Shield, but I don't think it realistically matters either. I think the way this game has to go is he has to hit a draw 2 and then draw 2 into 2 burn spells. I think we're fine. Alright, well, you hit the draw 2 piece of that. Let's see what else we got to fade. Another draw 2, okay. so we're at the draw 4 stage of the game. Wasn't enough though. Alright, GG. Oof. That's why I like to just come out and ban the Janna decks in best of 3. That stuff is such nonsense to where it's just watch me draw a million cards. I've never seen a deck throughout the history of Runeterra. I don't even know if in the history of card gaming as to where they just immediately get back into the game out of nowhere. Like you see the opponent with a very minimal board and 1 card in your hand, and you're like, okay, I got this. You know, this is nothing. This isn't a big deal. And then like out of nowhere, they just have a full board and they've played a removal spell and they have 6 cards in hand. Like I've never seen a deck do it like this, the way that the Janna decks do. So it's been wild. It's been wild. But up against the Bandle City Nidalee here, reasonable enough starting with an action. I'd love to have found an equipment or something to make him a little bit more resilient in the early game, but at least the Sky Splitter turned up to give him some safety. So I'm not going to play action just yet. We'll wait to see if he drops an ambush. If he just passes here, fine. That's not that big of a deal, but I'm not going to play any of my cards till after combat. Taking a 3-bank with this hand is not that bad, right? We still get to play action next turn with the Darkened Bloodletters protected by a Sky Splitter. It's just we miss out on 1 point of landmark countdown.
I don't need rules to know good from bad.
Thing that'll suck is if he has a 2/4, right? Like we can deal with the 2/4. Just I don't want to play Sky Splitters this turn. Like I'd really like it if we can continue on this curve of General of the Dunes into Saurion,
This is justice.
and then have the mana banked up for a Desert Duel or whatever we need. Curious what the shadows is. It has to like. This Nidalee. I was under the impression is like it feels like if it's a all-terrain trooper, he would have probably done something with it already. But interesting.
Our resolve shall not break.
Right, so we'll go. It's very easy for opponent to have a prowl here. Oh no! Oh, fucking action! I thought action was going to be big enough. I thought we were going to be in this space to where either opponent plays a prowl, and he either gets action or he gets the Dark Enthrall. I completely whiffed on that with him just getting the best of both worlds. Ugh, that's sloppy. That was sloppy. Yeah. Make a sad noise for your boy Bust. But interesting point on this board, we do still have the Cultist down, right? We have a Cultist on board in this Dark Enthrall. We're kind of free to add the Saurion in. I wouldn't be surprised to see him pastry the Dark Enthrall now, but this is still okay. I would ideally be able to take the All-Terrain Trooper down with the Dark Enthrall, but if that's not what we get at the end of the day, it's still fine. Yeah, I want our combat trick and I want our mana back. Like losing out on the combat trick at this point's kind of whatever. Like I'm not super upset that the Sky Splitter is gone. The big thing is just that 2 points of mana. Now we're losing out on our abilities to play a unit and play a Desert Duel. I think we're kind of safe this turn. The big plays that he would have out of this spot would be something like a like big game hunter, and then that's not a thing until next turn, and so I think we're safe in that sense. Alright, so let's drop the duel. Again, another spot to where he can pretty safely get out of this stuff, but this isn't like an ultra critical thing. And then I'll take the 3 bank out of this turn. Like, if he wants to... oh shit, I thought that we were going to be trading. Didn't happen.
Good people don't look the other way. You cannot run from absolution.
And the changelings. I have to assume that he's just gonna play a 7-drop next turn and we're dead. Like I don't see too many ways we get out of this game. We didn't apply enough pressure to really stop what he's trying to do. But we'll see. Maybe he doesn't have the 7-drop, you know? It's happened before, right? He does. Okay. GG. So yeah, that one was on me. Like I feel like if we could kind of take that back and then be in the spot to where we again like we can just discard the Sky Splitter, right? We can act like the Sky Splitter just never existed, and we would have been in such a better spot. Like, you can just mulligan that out of our hand, say, bust, you got to start 1 card short. Just losing out on that mana was the imperative thing there that we really let slip away from us, and then he was able to snowball after that. And so, like, just completely blanking there was such a problem. It's all right. We'll get it together. Maybe one day. I just wanted a game where we play a swinging glaive on turn 3 and get to attack with it, right? That's what life's all about. Maybe this will be it. What do we got? Let's hang on to our bird. Again, I want to find an equipment for the early game here if we can. Didn't turn up. Sad day. Let's see if we can't find it this way. Hey, there's the swinging glaive. I knew you could do it, deck. I knew you could produce. Alright, who you got for us now? Like, Action's a little slow at this point. I'm not certain we'll ever get usage out of him this game, but the rest of these cards aren't particularly exciting. We can put Action on top of our deck now that we've predicted, then do Omen Hawk. So now Omen Hawk will give the Action the plus bonus. But I think we still want to just be playing Swinging Glaive. Maybe we don't. It's pretty dangerous at this point in the sense that like, if we Swinging Glaive the Forsaken Bakai and then this unit has any of the 3-power attackers, which is pretty much all of them, I don't want to really, again, play the Glaive and then have to trade. It always feels so bad. Prowl onto Action's fine. Who's got both? Got the prowl and the pastry toss. Must be nice. Must be nice. Don't think that was that big of a deal. We take a chunk of damage, but we get the actual chance to start building up with the General of the Dunes now. Like the only thing I particularly worry about in this deck is like their big combo turns, and if he's not pulling off a big combo turn, I don't think we care nearly as much. The valley's where the big combo turns start, though, right? that's where the problems lie. This is fine. He has the pastry toss in hand to try and deal damage to the general. We can Sky Splitter out, kind of get the reset on his health. See if we can't recover back into this. What do we got here? A little interested in Overwhelm, but we kind of need this unit to be surviving. I think the quick attack's where we need to be here. Maybe we never get to that point, though, right? Like, are we ever really in a spot to where this unit gets to attack 2 times? I'm not convinced. Let's go with Overwhelm. There shouldn't be any ways for this deck to interact with the general. Oh God, we're about to get zinged, aren't we? that's what you gotta feel when the double valley comes onto the board. Oh jeez. Got a Saurion in here, just still a little bit short on damage. Like we have this problem to where we roll into next turn, we're 1 short, and then if he has a big game or something, we're pretty blown out. But I think we at least have a chance to recover from this one. Takes a much more passive angle here. Yeah. We're just kind of stuck. Well, how much he has impact 3? I guess we have to stop and decide if we're not going to win the game this turn, can we actually, not die next turn? And with this hand, like, I immediately thought it's like, yeah, we can kind of survive this stuff. We had the Warden of the Tribes for next turn, but if he has all the impact, then we can't do it. So the question now is, like, do we have to immediately Desert Duel this Chief Knack attack? And I think we do. Let's try and take him off the board. We can follow up with the Mighty Poro. Like, I don't think we're successful here too frequently, but we definitely lose the game if that's the angle.
Only worth is the sum of its parts.
Alright. Oh, these do have enough impact. Shit. Okay. Well, we could draw Quicksand and maybe get out of it, but should just be dead here. Yeah. That's tough. Like, the Nidalee deck is the one that we're taking into the Ruthless Rumble yesterday. Is one of the decks I've kind of considering. It's quite good against these decks that just don't interact. And I still have a very hard time telling if we were just playing the Nidalee deck so poorly that the games never felt right, or it's like, how hard are you high rolling in this space to where we're running into quite a bit of, we would have a game to where it's like, oh, I don't have a Valley of Imitation, or we have games where it's like, oh, well, we aren't drawing. It's like if you didn't draw things in the right order, you just lost and had no chance regardless of the decks you were playing against. And it's tough for me to tell in a spot like that to where we get 2-0'd by the deck that should be a negative matchup if they're just playing the deck so much better than we were, or if it's a spot to where if it's a spot to where they they just drew their cards in the right order. But here, fine to go ahead and take the open. I don't want to deal with him dropping a Nilah, then our Omen Hawk's not getting to attack. And then I really like this angle of getting able to double Omen Hawk and give the first 2 units +2/+2. And so I don't really like these. It's not that I don't like Omen Hawk spread across turns. It's just so much stronger to give 2 units +2/+2 than it is to give 1 unit +1/+1, the next one +2/+2, and then the next one +1/+1. And so this 5/5 Mighty Poro, he's ready to fuck, you know? He says, I'm ready. Sure. We've got a couple options this turn. I think Gnar's fine. We don't really need to predict at this point. We can throw away 1 unit in front of Nilah, that's fine, but I think this best takes advantage of this wide board to where we have the chance to actually deal physical damage and then have Gnar flip. So if he has the Divine Whirlwind, fine. But otherwise, Gnar is fairly challenging to deal with here. Interesting. I think we just take this. Like, this just feels like one of those spots to where he's just trying to figure out something to do, and like losing out on our Gnar in this spot does not feel that good. Like I like the idea that I kind of have here is we can hook Nilah out of combat next turn with one of our units, and then we're pretty close to just having enough overwhelm to finish off the game. And so, excuse me, what I'm kind of leaning toward here is on the next turn I want to play Zolani, and then from there it should be tough for him to even really do anything. And so with this, we could pick up the Swinging Glaive just to give our unit some stats. I don't hate it. Otherwise, I don't want Gnar or action. I guess, well, the upside to Gnar, let's actually do take the Gnar here, is he's going to let us wallop a unit out of combat, right? And so the space we're going to be looking at to try and come in and finish off this game is we're going to hook Nilah out of combat. He's going to have a couple of blockers, and then we can wallop whatever is in front of Gnar and try and finish that way. I'd really like to end the game this turn, so
War is a curse
let's see if we can't do that.
I cannot omit.
Joyful and swift.
This is not looking like the space to where you want to go into a next turn with them getting access to having 1,000 cards in hand. And so I think this is it. Like, he needs the double burns to be able to take Gnar off the board here. Now he most certainly doesn't have it.
Being here, dancing in all the beauty of life.
All right, cool.
Wait a minute, something the matter? Oh, got to get past me.
Ready. I've got my wallet prepared. GG. All right. Market a W for bust. And I think that's where we'll call it. We're at about the 50-minute mark here. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so I know the record doesn't really reflect a lot of great stats at the moment, but I think if you consider that our losses there were those 2 games that we played against Nidalee and then the game that we probably punted against Kawako with the other Warden of the Tribes deck, I'm kind of feeling pretty decent about how those went. And so we didn't get to pull off a ton of these games in the sense of, I really want to play a strong unit on turn 2 and then just hit it with a Swinging Glaive. They didn't quite come together as frequently as I'd like, but I think that's where we're really looking to pop off with this deck. And so I'm not certain if the answer here is to kind of tweak some of the numbers, right? As far as Warden of the Tribes decks go, my stance has always been like, how much do you really need as a bonus from the Warden of the Tribes? And what I mean by that is like, how many bad cards do you need to start including in your deck to get extra bonuses out of the Warden of the Tribes? And so, do we want to go out of our way to play like a fairy or a yordle or, like whatever it takes to get those extra keywords? And in my opinion, you're typically happy with like +3/+3 or +4/+4 against the non-mirror matches. Like that's more than enough. That's fine. And then within the mirror matches, that's where you start to care a little bit more. But the thing I start to question is, can we start to say push a little further away from some of these units? Like, can we cut out an innovative blacksmith to put in, say, another Frostcoat Cub? Or, do we really need to include Nidalee in here if she's not, getting the job done for us? Or do we really need to include Gnar? There's a couple like levers that we can be switching around in here. But I think at the end of the day, my kind of stance with this deck is I'm leaning towards cutting a Swinging Glaive. That felt like where most of the problems really hit within the deck today, is just running into these boards to where we don't have enough stats to get the Swinging Glaive going. And we just didn't find the good combats for it. And then I think we're fine with just like the 4 equipment. But I could be kind of sold otherwise in the sense. Then like the next piece to that is, if you're not happy with the combat you're getting out of Swinging Glaive, do you want to start including additional combat tricks? And we are pretty light on combat tricks at 2. And so where I could kind of see myself with this as the open starts to appear is like, I'd be fine cutting out Rite of Negation. If we're not playing against Jannas, because we just plan on banning Janna the whole time, then the Rite of Negation loses out on a bit of its luster. Like, I know it's still good against a lot of decks. Like, it's good against Heimerdinger Jace. It's good against anything with the Ruination in it. But I feel like it's a place that you can kind of start making cuts and then look to fit more combat tricks in. And so it's like, maybe we cut a Swinging Glaive and a Rite of Negation for 2 more combat tricks and see how that goes. Because I'm not really amped about cutting out things like Innovative Blacksmith. But beyond that, like, I am quite happy with a lot of the stuff going on with this. I still really like Action. I like the quick attack package out of all of our champions tied into the General of the Dunes. I felt like the General of the Dunes was quite good in here today. I really like this good early, good late sense that we get out of the Defenders of the Sun Disk tied in with putting a bunch of units on the board for the Warden of the Tribes, but also giving us good targets for a turn 3 equipment. Like, I like a lot of the aspects of this deck. I think it's just a matter of tweaking the numbers, and then I think we'll find this in a pretty good space. And so, we'll see. We'll see if this makes its way into our open lineup. If you don't want to play Jarvan, or if you're interested in other flavors of Warden of the Tribes, this could be a thing for you. If you really like playing Action, this could be a thing for you as well. I think we're like at 35 of 40 cards to having a really good deck here. And I think that this one has a lot of potential that you don't get out of some of the other versions of the Warden of the Tribes deck. And so it's definitely one to keep on your radar. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.